one of the questions I get asked more than any other question is, what if I say the wrong thing? The truth is, you don't have to be a therapist, a counselor, or a mental health professional to make a difference. You don't have to have all the answers, and you don't have to fix someone's problems. Most people simply want to know that someone cares enough to notice, ask, and listen. That's what this training is all about. Before we begin, I want you to know that the guidance we're sharing today is based on best practices. It's not my personal opinions or experience alone. It's built on nationally recognized best practices from leading organizations, including the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, the 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, and the Suicide Prevention Resource Center. At Promise2Live, we've combined these evidence-based best practices with years of community outreach and practical experience to create an approach that's compassionate, approachable, and something that anyone can do. I promise, even you. Our goal isn't to turn you into a mental health professional. Our goal is to help you feel confident having conversations, reducing stigma, and representing Promise2Live well, and helping connect people with trusted support before a crisis occurs. Now, one of the simplest yet most powerful things you can do is add one extra word to a question we get asked every day. Instead of asking, "Oh, how are you? How's it going?" I challenge you to use the one word that I think changes everything, and it's really. So say, "How are you really?" Or "How are you really doing?" It tells someone that you're not looking for the automatic response of "I'm fine." It tells them that you are willing to slow down, listen, and be present. You'll be surprised at how many people will answer this differently when they know that someone genuinely wants to know that how they're really doing. And sometimes that one word opens the door to a conversation that could change a life. And in fact, I'm going to challenge you guys to try that this week. The next time you ask somebody, "Hey, how's it going?" will you try using the word really? One of the other conversation tools that we encourage is MTV's Ask Framework. It stands for Acknowledge, Support, and Keep in Touch. Now, this is how it works. First, you want to acknowledge what someone is feeling without minimizing it or trying to explain it away. You don't have to agree with someone's perspective to acknowledge their feelings are real. Next is S, support. You support them by listening with compassion instead of trying to solve every single problem. And finally, the K stands for keep in touch. One conversation is rarely enough. A simple text, a phone call, a visit a few days later lets someone know that they haven't been forgotten. And that follow-up might be the very thing that gives them hope. So one of the greatest gifts I think you can give another person is really your attention, listening to understand. Now, with the Ask framework, I do want to share this. I want to give you kind of an example of what it looks like because we're so afraid to ask. We're afraid to ask somebody if they're struggling, and we're afraid to ask for help if we're struggling. But it's acknowledge, support, keep in touch. And you acknowledge the elephant in the room. What is it? "Hey, I'm really sorry you're going through a divorce. Hey, I'm really sorry that you lost your job. I'm sorry your mom died. I'm sorry your dog died. I'm sorry that somebody got arrested." Whatever it is, you acknowledge it. Okay, so that's the first thing. You notice that somebody's struggling, going through a hard time. You acknowledge it and say, "I'm really sorry that you're going through XYZ." Then you let them talk. And then the support is, again, you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to go to school for 8 years to have this conversation. The support is, "I'm so sorry. That must be hard. That must be a really challenging thing to deal with." It's one supportive line. And then the K is simple because it's keep in touch. And sometimes people who are going through hard things need to know that somebody cares, that they're looking out for them. They need to have something to look forward to. So keeping in touch, that might be like, "Hey, will you text me tonight when you get home? Will you message me later and let me know what you're doing? Can we go on a walk in the morning? Can we go get coffee or a soda or a lunch?" Like, just keep in touch. The simple things. And it doesn't have to be over the top. I know a lot of us are busy, but you can do a simple thing. "Hey, text me later." You can send them a meme. Resist the urge to jump in with advice when you're talking to somebody or to compare their experience to your own experience. Don't interrupt. Don't rush the conversation. And don't feel like you have to fill every moment of silence. One of my favorite quotes is, "If we were supposed to talk more than we hear, we would have 2 mouths and 1 ear." The best gift you can give somebody is hearing them, taking the time to listen. Sometimes you don't have to have words. Sometimes people don't need answers. All they need is someone willing to sit with them, to hear them, to remind them that they're not alone. Your presence can be worth far more than words and even more powerful. As a representative of Promise to Live, the language that we do use, it matters. Words have the power to reduce stigma, protect dignity, and create hope. We encourage using person-first language because people are never defined by their diagnosis or their struggles. So that looks something like this. Instead of saying someone committed suicide, please don't say that. Say they died by suicide. The word commit or committed carries unnecessary shame and stigma. We also avoid phrases like successful suicide or failed suicide, as well as labels such as crazy or attention-seeking or weak. Our goal is to always communicate with compassion, with dignity, and with respect. When talking publicly about suicide, whether in a conversation, during an interview, while speaking, or on a social media platform, we also have a responsibility to communicate safely, avoid sharing methods, graphic details, or speculating about why someone died. Never sensationalize, romanticize, or glorify suicide. Research has shown that detailed or sensationalized discussions can contribute to suicide contagion, sometimes called copycat behavior, particularly among vulnerable individuals. Instead, focus on hope, healing, treatment, recovery, available resources, and the fact that help is available. Now, I want to share a quick story here. I didn't really understand that in the beginning when we started this, and I had a friend whose 16-year-old son took his life, and it was very tragic. And the community did what they thought was best. They put ribbons on all the trees. They let school out. They had a special assembly. They had a special church meeting. They put screens on the lawn, and they did a week of this kid's life playing. And while that sounds so nice, and the intentions were incredibly kind and pure, the problem is, what about the kid next door struggling? Seeing that, oh, maybe I can get that same attention if I take my life. Oh, nobody sees me, now they'll see me. We just have to think about some of these things as we do it, that you can honor and respect the family, but sometimes doing something like this is a little bit of an activation for others going through it. So consider these sort of things. When we talk about the language that we use, we ask you not to talk about means. This is for that very same reason. You might be like, well, what does that mean? It means we don't say how they took their life. And that's hard because as humans, we're curious. We want to know, but that doesn't provide any good benefit or hope. So we don't need to say how they ended their life, the means that they used. We want to leave people believing that there is hope and that reaching out is a sign of strength. Stories are so powerful. In fact, they're one of the most powerful ways we connect with people, but they should always be shared responsibly. Respect people's privacy and ask permission whenever possible. Focus on what helped. Focus on who supported them, the resources, and what healing has looked like. Every story that we share at Promise to Live should point people toward hope instead of leaving them with fear. The same principles apply on social media. Before posting, you might want to ask yourself a few simple questions like 1, is it accurate? Is it respectful? Does it create hope? Could it unintentionally cause harm? Does it encourage someone to reach out? Remember that everything you share represents Promise to Live, but more importantly, someone who is struggling might be reading your words, or the parents of someone who lost a loved one. We've had this happen. If you're unsure, please pause, ask for guidance, and then post with purpose. Whether you're volunteering at an event, carrying the pocket hug, speaking in the community, or just living every day in your life, outreach starts with kindness. So smile, be approachable with everyone you meet. And I try to think of this. I heard a statistic, and don't quote me on it, but essentially it said that about 70 to 80% of the population consider themselves shy. That's a huge number. Sometimes we think people are rude or they're not interested in us. We feel nervous to talk to them. Can I challenge you guys that that you smile at everyone you see, try to make eye contact, look and smile. I do this at the airport. I challenge myself when I go through the airport that I make eye contact, and in my heart and my mind, I just say, I love you, I love you, I love you, or you're loved, whatever it is. But if you see them, smile. This is so important. And just having those conversations, meeting people where they are, listening more than you speak. And don't ever pressure people. Don't argue or debate. Instead, invite people into a conversation. Share Promise to Live. Give them a hug. This is a great way to have a conversation. Encourage people to make that promise. If someone needs additional support, connect them with trusted resources. And remember, we're planting seeds of hope. We're not trying to convert or solve every single problem in every single conversation. It's also important to understand your role. You're not expected to be a therapist, although some of you are, a counselor or a crisis clinician. You're not responsible for fixing someone's life. Your role is to care, to listen, to encourage, to follow up, and connect people with trusted resources when appropriate. Sometimes helping someone take the very next step is enough. Now, if you do believe that someone may be in immediate danger, trust your instincts, take every concern seriously, stay calm, ask direct questions when appropriate, and don't be afraid to encourage someone to seek help. Now, if it's possible, if you're in the situation, you can always call or text 988 together, or if you need that, you can call or text 988. If there's an immediate risk to their safety, or to someone else's safety, you need to call 911 right away, or your emergency services wherever you're viewing this. Remember, you never have to carry that responsibility alone. And I also want to share that we do our best. I've still lost friends once we started Promise to Live. We cannot save everybody, but we can make a difference, and we can do our part, and we can try. We can shift the conversation from awareness to action. The simple act of asking when you feel scared, wouldn't you rather have somebody ask you than not? Wouldn't you want to err on the side of caution than not? As you represent Promise to Live, I really want you to remember 3 simple values that guide almost everything we do. Choose kindness, give grace, lead with love. Those aren't just words. I want to share how that story came about. I'm a storyteller. It's what I do. It's what I did in media. That's how I understand things. Several years ago, I showed up on a broadcast. I was in charge of the broadcast. It was for a company I've been working with for many, many years. One of the employees, the contractor, showed up. He was a little bit late, and he showed up with a really bad attitude. Showed up late, bad attitude. He was being, I think, disrespectful and rude to people. I was getting very upset. And so I walked away to do my best thinking at the craft table, which is crafty as food, snacks. So I go over and I get a snack, and the more I'm standing there, the more angry and worked up I'm getting. How dare him? Who does he think he is? He shows up on the production. He shows up late. He's got this negative attitude. No, he's a new guy. He doesn't get to act this way. He doesn't get to bring everybody down. I'm getting ready to walk over and give this guy Mike a piece of my mind. And as I'm walking over to Mike, just as I got there, I got this inspiration, this feeling that said, pause. Instead of giving him a piece of my mind, give him a piece of your heart. And so instead of saying, what is your problem? Which was my plan. That's what I was going to say is, what's your problem? I said, are you okay? And he paused and he looked at me. Tears started welling up in his eyes. And he said, no, I'm not okay. Today's the anniversary of my wife's death. And my kids were really having a hard morning. And I'm sorry I'm late. And at this moment, I'm feeling like the jerk. And I got tears in my eyes like this. And I just said, I'm so sorry. And he just hugged me And we just stood in the middle of this room where I was ready to tell him off. And we just cried together. Choose kindness, give grace, lead with love. And I thought about that because how different would it be? I know we're all going through things. I know we all have opinions. We get cut off. When my child tried to end her life, I was 45 minutes away. And I was driving to the hospital as fast as I could because I didn't know if I'd see her alive. I drove like a jerk. I tailgated a lot of people. I might have went 100 miles an hour on the freeway because I wasn't thinking about me or you. I was just thinking about getting to my baby as quick as I could. When Mike stood there, all the people I was with at the hospital, you right now, you're going through things. I had to show up for some of the biggest meetings of my entire professional career while fighting for my daughter's life, and nobody knew what I was going through. I invite each and every one of you to think about this, that no matter what it is you're dealing with or others are dealing with, can we pause? Can we choose kindness? Can we give them grace? Can we lead with love? Because you will never, ever regret doing that. How we treat people, how we have conversations, and how we represent this movement and ourselves every single day is critical. I want to thank you for taking time to complete this little training video and for choosing to be a part of Promise to Live. Again, all of those conversations matter. Every act of kindness matters. Your heart's in the right place. You're here. And I know that together we can create the connection that we need before crisis. We can get people to make the promise to live. We can save lives by helping them make that promise, connecting them to resources, and building the community. And we've seen this within our own Promise to Live community. In fact, we had one of our volunteers who's never struggled, and 2 years ago went through the hardest thing of her life. And at that moment, our community and our team showed up for her. And she said, I don't think I could have done it without you. You are not alone. And as we part, just the final reminders, please remove commit or committed from your vocabulary. Please don't say they committed suicide. It makes people feel bad. Let's choose safe language. Try not to say words like triggered. Maybe replace that with activate. Don't say how somebody died. Don't share the means. Give hope. Think that that person or their family could be reading whatever message you're posting or sharing. And if it doesn't leave us in a better place or feeling good, if it doesn't represent kindness, grace, love, let it go. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you more than you know, and I hope you know that I love you.